So I want you to picture a scene. And it's a scene that, for many of us, it triggers a very specific kind of, that fight or flight response. You're sitting at a large round table. The air is just absolutely thick with the smell of rich food. Roasting duck, steamed fish, all those heavy spices. But the air is also thick with something else. Tension.
Ah, the classic holiday pressure cooker.
Exactly. You've got relatives you haven't seen in a year. You've got these expectations just hovering over you like a storm cloud. You've got that one uncle who loves to brag about his stock portfolio, or the aunt who asks really loudly why you aren't married yet.
Or why you haven't been promoted. It's a universal human experience, isn't it?
It is.
That contrast between this celebration on the surface, the Happy New Year, and the absolute anxiety just bubbling underneath.
And that's the question we're really tackling today. How do you maintain your peace in that room? How do you not just survive dinner without screaming, but actually stay calm when it all turns awkward or even hostile? To answer that, we're doing something a little different. We're looking at a source from the near future. We've got a message delivered on February 18th, 2026 by a man named Pastor Hu Zikong.
And we have to stop right there and set the stage because that date is crucial. February 18th, 2026, that corresponds to the second day of the Lunar New Year. In Chinese culture, this is known as Chu'er.
Chu'er.
Yeah.
Right, so for those who don't know the tradition, why is Chu'er so significant for the stress levels?
Well, traditionally, this is the day married couples return to the wife's family.
Okay.
So you have the son-in-law entering the domain of the in-laws. He's stepping out of his own home turf and into a hierarchy that was, established long before he ever showed up. It is a setting that is just ripe for complex, high-stakes social dynamics.
Wow. Talk about walking into lion's den. You're entering the in-laws territory. So our mission today is to unpack this message. And look, even though this is a sermon based on religious text, what we found in here is, well, it's essentially a masterclass on emotional intelligence. It's a strategy for what the pastor calls fearlessness.
It really is. He moves from this high-level philosophy about the nature of fear and safety right down to the gritty reality of how to handle a bragging relative without losing your cool.
So let's dive in. The source material is titled Fearless, or at least less afraid. And I love that honesty right off the bat. At least less afraid.
Yeah.
And he anchors this whole discussion in a text from the Bible, 1 Peter chapter 3. But he starts with a really interesting distinction that I think most of us just miss. He separates the concept of being hurt from being harmed.
And this is the core philosophical pivot of the entire message. In our daily language, we use those words, interchangeably. If someone insults me or punches me, I say, "You harmed me." But Pastor Hugh argues they are fundamentally different states of being.
Okay, so lay it out for us. What's the difference?
He suggests that enemies or hostile environments or even just difficult family members can absolutely hurt you.
Right.
They can cause physical pain, emotional distress, financial loss, that kind of thing. It's external. It happens to you.
Okay, so hurt is the bruises. It's the stinging comment about your weight. It's the uncomfortable silence.
Precisely. But he argues that they cannot harm you. In his view, harm is damage to your essence, your soul, your core identity. He says, and this is all based on his theological argument, that unless you lose your trust in God, you cannot be truly harmed. In fact, he goes a step further. He says if we stop trusting, if we let the fear take over and dictate our reactions, we harm ourselves.
Whoa. Okay, that puts a lot of responsibility back on us. So the external enemy, the grumpy father-in-law or the hostile critic, can inflict pain, but I am the only one who can actually damage my own soul.
That's the argument. It shifts the agency right back to the individual. He talks about sanctifying Christ as Lord in your heart.
Yeah.
Now, regardless of where you stand religiously, just look at the psychological structure of that. He's talking about establishing an internal hierarchy.
This is about who has the final say, right?
Yeah, exactly. If your Lord, your highest value, your inner core is solid, then the opinions of people or the threats of the environment, they get demoted. They lose their power to terrify you.
It's like having a boss who outranks everyone else. If the CEO tells you you're doing a good job, it doesn't matter if the middle manager in another department is yelling at you.
That's a great analogy.
You're safe because the highest authority has validated you.
Yeah, and he asks this rhetorical question from the text. Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? Now, he admits, sure, you might suffer for doing good, that happens. But the fear, the panic, he says that dissolves when the internal hierarchy is set.
This leads us to something I found really fascinating because, Usually when we think of a crisis, whether it's a health scare, a financial drop, or just a really bad argument at dinner, we think, this is bad, I need to escape.
Right, the fight or flight response. We view crisis as a malfunction of life.
But Pastor Hugh, he just flips it. He says a crisis isn't a disaster, it's a spotlight.
This was one of the most compelling parts of the source for me. He observes that non-believers, skeptics, or just people who don't share your worldview, they generally don't pay much attention to you when things are going well. Why would they?
Happiness is boring to the spectator.
Exactly. But when a Christian, or really anyone claiming a strong moral core, faces trouble, suddenly, eyes open, they're watching specifically for the reaction.
They want to see if the faith actually works.
They want to see if the engine runs when the car is going uphill. The pastor argues that a crisis creates this unique opportunity for witness that comfort just never provides. If you're calm when you should be panicking, if you carry hope in a hopeless situation, that anomaly demands an explanation.
It's like if the building is on fire and everyone is running, but one guy is calmly walking out helping people, you immediately want to know, what does he know that I don't?
Precisely. That is the witness. He quotes the instruction to always be prepared to give an answer, for the hope within you. But notice the context. You only need to give an answer if someone asks. And people only ask when they see something that doesn't make sense, like peace in the middle of a storm.
And he emphasizes the how here too. It's not just what you say. You don't give the answer with arrogance. You do it with a gentleness and respect.
Right. It's not about proving you're right. It's about explaining your hope.
He actually gives the listener a little homework here, right? He poses 3 diagnostic questions to check your own fear level.
Oh.
I wrote these down because they were surprisingly tough to answer.
They are quite probing. Let's walk through them. First, he asks, what fears have you experienced in your spiritual life?
It's an inventory check. Forces you to admit where you're anxious.
Second, what is the most severe suffering you've endured for your faith? He's asking you to quantify the cost. Have you actually been tested, or is it all theoretical?
And the third one. This one struck me as the most practical for our listeners. In what situations are you most tempted to compromise your beliefs?
That connects right back to that harm question, doesn't it? Where are you most likely to harm yourself by folding under pressure? Is it when you're facing a stranger, a skeptic, or maybe, just maybe, a family member who just pushes your buttons?
Which is the perfect segue, because after laying out this high-level theology of no fear, the pastor gets very, very real. He stops preaching and he starts sharing his travel plans.
The shift from the pulpit to the minivan, so to speak.
So remember, it's February 18th, 2026. He says, today is Chu'er. I'm heading north to Taipei. He's going to meet his 2 daughters and their husbands, his sons-in-law.
And he admits something quite vulnerable here. He says that even though he's been a father-in-law for several years, it still feels a bit strange.
Yeah, he says it's not like the natural intimacy you have with your own kids. There's a formality there. He says the sons-in-law are respectful, they're filial, but there's this distance. He calls it acting as an elder. He feels like he has to play a role.
And he pinpoints a very specific cultural and generational reason for some of this awkwardness. This is where the source gets really interesting from a sociological perspective. He notes that both of his sons-in-law are only children, no siblings.
I thought this was such a keen observation. He says they grew up alone, so they are, in his words, unfamiliar or unskilled in navigating the dynamics of a larger family.
Think about what that means for a holiday gathering. If you grow up with siblings, you learn a certain rhythm of banter, of sharing space, of loud, overlapping conversations. You learn that conflict isn't the end of the world. You fight for the last dumpling, and then you laugh 5 minutes later.
Right. It's chaos, but it's a comfortable chaos.
Exactly. But if you're an only child, especially from that generation in that region, stepping into a bustling in-law dynamic can feel, well, chaotic and aggressive. You might not know how to insert yourself into the flow. You might just retreat into silence.
So Pastor Hugh isn't just going there to eat dinner and judge them for being quiet. He actually sees this visit as a mission. He wants to use the meal to model sibling affection.
It's a beautiful reframing of a family obligation, isn't it? Instead of thinking, oh, I have to go make small talk with these quiet guys, he's thinking, I have an opportunity to teach them what connection feels like. He wants to show them that family warmth involves some vulnerability.
But let's be honest, not every family gathering is just about teaching quiet sons-in-law how to hug. Sometimes it's about surviving the noise. Sometimes you're not the mentor, you're the target. And this is where the pastor drops his survival guide for the holidays.
This section is where the rubber meets the road. He warns the listener about what happens at these reunions. He uses pretty strong language. He talks about gossip, negativity, and what he calls garbage speech.
Toxic waste. That's what it sounds like. We've all been there. You sit down, pass the rice, and someone starts complaining about the neighbors or tearing down a cousin who isn't there or just spewing pessimism.
Pastor Hugh calls this poison. And his advice is very specific. You must be a filter, not a sponge.
I love that image. Be a filter, not a sponge. Unpack that for us.
Well, a sponge absorbs everything. If the water is dirty, the sponge gets dirty. It just holds on to it. If you sit in a toxic conversation and act like a sponge, you leave that dinner feeling heavy, dirty, and exhausted. You've let the external hurt become internal harm.
You carry their garbage home with you.
Exactly, but a filter lets the fluid pass through, but it catches the impurities. He says we should share love. That's the good stuff passing through, but refuse to absorb the poison of negative talk. You acknowledge it, and then you just let it go.
He even breaks down the specific types of difficult people you're going to meet. Did you catch this list? It felt like he was reading my diary.
It is uncomfortably accurate. He mentions those who rely on their old age, the ones who pull rank.
I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice, that whole thing.
Exactly. Then there are those who brag about their achievements.
The highlight reel relatives.
And finally, he mentions those whose tone or frequency is just completely out of sync with yours.
That frequency thing is so real. You know, you're trying to be chill and positive, and they are frantic and critical.
Yeah.
You're just not on the same wavelength. So what's the strategy? What does the pastor say we should do when the uncle starts bragging or the old guard starts lecturing?
His strategy is surprisingly simple, but it takes massive self-control to execute. He says, step back.
Step back.
Yield. In the source text, he advises, don't brag, don't get jealous, and don't engage in a power struggle. When you face that behavior, that annoying tone or that arrogance, he says to shidu tui ring, which translates to appropriately yield or step back.
That's fascinating because our instinct, at least my instinct, is usually to fight back, right? If someone brags, I want to prove I'm successful too. If someone criticizes me, I want to defend myself. Yielding sounds like losing.
That's the ego talking. But remember the core philosophy from the beginning. If you're secure, if you cannot be harmed, then you don't need to win the argument. You don't need to prove yourself to that relative. By stepping back, you refuse to get dragged into the mud. You avoid the negative exchange.
So silence isn't weakness here. It's actually a sign of strength. It's saying, I'm good. I don't need to play this game.
Precisely. It preserves your peace. It's the gray rock method. You become uninteresting to the person trying to provoke you. And he wraps up this advice by reminding the listener of the purpose of the holiday.
Right, the reason we have the time off in the first place.
He says the break isn't for engaging in combat, it's for positive, effective cultivation. It's meant to repair the body and soul to prepare for the work of the coming year. If you spend it fighting or absorbing toxic gossip, you've wasted the restoration time. You just come back to work depleted.
That puts a whole new spin on the holiday break. It's not just time off, it's maintenance time. And you have to protect that maintenance time from the garbage.
It connects right back to the fearlessness. You're fearless enough to be silent. You're fearless enough to let someone else be wrong or let someone else be the center of attention because your internal world is secure.
So let's just recap what we've unpacked here. We started with this big theological idea from Pastor Hugh on a crisp February morning in 2026. The idea that there's a massive difference between being hurt and being harmed.
Right. Hurt is what happens to you externally. Harm is what happens within you when you lose your anchor.
We talked about the spotlight of crisis, how problems are actually the stage where your character gets revealed to a watching world.
And how that revelation, that witness, is often the most powerful argument for your beliefs, more than any debate you could possibly win.
We looked at the pastor's own life, his trip to Taipei, the awkwardness, the in-law dynamic, and his compassion for his only child sons-in-law.
A reminder that everyone at the table has their own backstory, their own limitations. They aren't just villains in your story.
Right, they might just be socially unskilled. And finally, the survival guide, the toxic waste filter, the strategy of stepping back.
It really is a comprehensive toolkit for emotional stability.
It is. And you know what I love about this source is that while it's delivered as a sermon, the utility of it is just so broad. You don't have to be a theologian to understand the value of not letting your uncle's bad mood ruin your week.
Absolutely. Whether you view Christ as Lord in the religious sense, or you interpret it as having a core set of unshakable values, the mechanism is the same. If your internal stability is dependent on external circumstances, on everyone being nice to you, on the traffic being good, you're going to live a life of fear. You will be constantly harmed.
Because you've given the keys to your happiness to everyone else. You've handed the remote control of your emotions to the most annoying person in the room.
Correct. But if the Lord of your life, the thing that rules your heart, is internal and unshakable, then the external circumstances are just weather. It might rain, it might storm, but the house stands.
I think that's the big takeaway for me. We spend so much energy trying to control the dinner party, trying to fix the relatives. But Pastor Hugh is saying, stop trying to control the weather. Build a better house.
Well said.
So here's where we want to leave you today. We want to try a little visualization exercise based on this source. I want you to imagine a throne room in the center of your heart. And in that room, there is just a single chair.
A single seat of authority.
Yes, strip away your job title. Take that off the chair. Strip away your bank account, your relationship status, your family's approval. If you took all that away, who or what is left protecting you from fear? Who is sitting in that chair?
Because the source suggests that whoever or whatever is sitting in that chair determines whether you can be harmed. If your career's on the chair, a bad boss can destroy you. If your family's approval is on the chair, a smirky comment at dinner can destroy you.
But if the thing on the chair is unshakable, then you can't be harmed. You can only be hurt. And as we've learned today, there is a world of difference between the two.
It's a question worth answering before you head to your next reunion.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.